Anti-war demonstrators from across Russia have taken to the streets to protest their country's invasion of Ukraine. Russian police have moved to swiftly and often violently crack down on the movement, with over 6,000 arrests so far. However, protesters continue to make their voices heard.
Our next guest has herself taken to the streets in Novosibirsk, Russia, to protest war in Ukraine. Veronika Nazarova joins us now. Welcome to Rising, Veronika.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So what are you seeing on the ground? How are the protesters being treated? We understand there's a massive crackdown underway. What are you seeing?
So actually, the situation is very different across our country. For example, in Novosibirsk, not so many people were arrested, first of all, especially on the first day when we got to the protests. But in St. Petersburg and in Moscow, a lot more people were arrested, and the police and special forces were way more aggressive. So the situation is very different, but what is, very common that they're trying to silence our voices. They don't want to hear any anti-war words. They want to make everyone believe in the country and to the outside world that everyone supports what is going on in Ukraine right now. They want to make sure that people who are actively against this special operation are not heard, and that's what they're trying to do by all the means that they have. So the situation is changing every day very rapidly. There are new things that we cannot do every day. For example, there are some things that we cannot say. For example, we can't say that it is a war. We have to say that it is a special operation. So the situation is changing very rapidly, and we cannot predict where it is going. But I got to say that there are a lot of people who are against it, and we are going to fight for our rights. We're going to say that we are against the violence in Ukraine. Our hearts, are with the people of Ukraine, and it's going to be very hard to silence us.
Yeah, our understanding is that it's the majority of the people in Russia are against this. Does that track with what you're seeing and what you suspect?
Well, actually, I wish it was true. I wish it was 100% true, but the society is divided, actually. So I would be lying if I said that everyone is against it. But there are a lot of people, and there are, I can't even put into words how many people are actively speaking up against it. But I can say that it's 100% of the population. So yeah, when we go to those protests, what we want to show is, first of all, we want to show the Ukrainians that not every Russian supports the decisions of our government. Also, we want to show our own fellow citizens that it's okay to speak up if you are against something. It's okay to go to the peaceful protest. That is our right given by our constitution, and we can practice it, and we can do those things. So what we are trying to show people outside of our borders and in our country that it's okay to speak up, but nowadays I wouldn't say that it is that it's like a very common thing. So I wouldn't say that everyone is against it. Unfortunately, I'm very sad to say this, but we're trying to speak even to our own people, like to say, hey, don't you think that what is going on is, it's not okay? We're trying to talk to others. We're trying to educate them on the matter. But it's not a consensus in Russia that the events in Ukraine are not okay.
And what kind of news are people in Russia getting about, the run-up to the war and also the invasion? There's been a lot of reporting in the Western press about Putin's kind of censorship of the media in barring the press from even referring to it as a war or referring to it as an invasion. And so if you're just a normal Russian news consumer, what are you hearing about what's going on in Ukraine?
It depends on what is your source of the news. If you are someone who watches TV, you are not going to get the full picture or any information at all. You are going to they are showing the images that are not 100% true. You are going to hear that what they're doing is actually they are liberating the country, they are cleaning it out from the neo-Nazis, neo-fascists, and this sort of stuff. So on TV, they're saying that people of Donetsk and Lugansk republics were actively oppressed under the Ukrainian regime. There was even a genocide, and that's kind of the thing that we're trying to portray on TV. If your source of the news is the internet, here it depends on what kind of sources you are using. For example, if you're more into liberal media sites, you're going to get more or less, true picture of the events. You're going to hear the news from the Ukrainian people themselves. You're going to show the real footages of the events that are currently happening. So the picture itself that people are getting, in one country, it's not the same. And that's why it's very hard to come to terms with people who are supporting these special operation. If you're trying to tell them like, hey, see this piece of evidence that they got, they're going to say, no, it's not true. Here's the piece of evidence that they got, and they're going to show you something from TV. Our propaganda is trying to make sure that people are getting their version of events. And if you want to seek out for the truth, you have to be actively, looking in the media. You have to be very critically, you have to have a lot of critical thinking skills. So it depends. There are so many versions. Also, there are also a lot of fake information, fake news. So you have to be very active and you have to be proactive to find out something that is true. But yeah, it depends on what your source of the news is, actually.
And if you're arrested at a protest, what kind of punishment, what are you facing if that happens?
Mm-hmm. So there are, in Russia, we have something that's called like administrative offense. Like it's not a criminal charges. You're not considered a criminal. Administrative offense is something like a minor offense. So you can face up to, it depends on what your charges are. You can face up to 30 days in prison, can be like 11 days in prison. So it's very different here. You can also get a fine. It depends on what your charges are. And also, some people are, after they're being detained, they're being released without any punishments. But some people are being put in jail. I'm not sure what's the difference between jail and prison is here. So I'm going to use the word jail. So you're going to be put in jail for like up to 30 days. But it's like if you're going to be, if the charges are that you are someone who organized the protests, if you're going to be prosecuted as someone who just, like a common protester, usually people are punished with the fines. And the fines can be up to 30,000 rubles, I think, something like that. So it's not a criminal charges, it's a minor offense, and the punishment for that is some time in jail, or it can be fines.
And what about speaking up publicly? Like what decision-making process did you go through before, agreeing to appear on here? Are you nervous that, that they'll come after you as a result of this?
Well, yes, I am a bit afraid, but I think that we have to speak up against it. We have to speak out. We have to make sure that our voices are heard. When we woke up to those terrible news that there are Russian troops in the Ukraine, it was such a shock to us. It was so devastating that at first I felt like there is nothing we can do. We were very and deeply hurt. But to the end, the time passes by and we realize like, hey, it's not, if we are going to be silent, it will be considered, by those in power as a support for their actions. So we have to do something. And the protests that took place at the very first day of the Russian invasion, they were very spontaneous. It was just people who were so hurt by the news, by the events, that they felt like they have to speak up, even if there are some consequences. But yeah, I think it's a bit scary to say what you really think right now. But it's the only thing we have left. We have to be very true to ourselves and to others, and we have to stand with solidarity with people in Ukraine.
Is there hope that the peace talks, which I believe are underway currently or about to be underway, will yield a positive outcome and Putin will withdraw from this horrible course of action?
Well, I can speak, I'm not a political expert. I don't know what the stakes are right now. So I'm just going to say what I personally think. I think that I just hope and pray that the peace treaty will be the result of current peace negotiation. But I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but that's the decision by Putin that we all are waiting for. It's the only thing that matters right now. The sooner the peace treaty will be signed, the sooner the people on both sides of the border, especially people of Ukraine, are going to be safe again. And that's the only thing that matters right now.
And what's been the result of the sanctions and the economic fallout so far? Are people that you know running to ATMs? Is there kind of panic? Is the ruble collapsing? Are you seeing actual effects of these Western countermeasures?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are actively seeing them. The ruble is kind of collapsing. We can see that the course it is changing every minute. The people are cashing out the ATMs. Yeah, it's like it was about 1 trillion rubles that were cashed out from those ATMs machines in the last week or so. So the economic effects of those events are seen already. And I don't think they will go away anytime soon. And we are feeling those sanctions. But also I have to say that all of people in Russia, who are against this invasion, we're trying to say we're trying to reach out somehow to the Western politicians and to say hey, can you those sanctions, affect those in power, those who are making those decisions, and not the common folks? Because usually the common folks are the ones who are suffering, right? And we want those sanctions to be hitting the people who are making those decisions, to bomb the cities, to harm the citizens of Ukraine, but not the common folk, because not every Russian citizen is responsible for the actions of our government.
Absolutely. Very, very well said. And thank you, Veronika, so much for speaking to us and for being willing to speak out. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me today. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you. Well, we'll have more Rising up next.